both started from UNSW, my co-founder and myself,
You
Paul.
and your co-founder, yeah.
So yeah, we started actually programming in the labs at the university. So that's kind of like our beginnings where we started, and we were still studying at the time. So
Yeah. So did you guys get into? Did you study in engineering, civil engineering, or structural engineering? What was it?
I studied civil engineering and business as well. So it was a double degree.
But you're just playing around with tech in the side?
Yeah, we did like a programming course at the university, and I just really liked it. Like, really loved it. Felt like I was pretty good at it. Like, it was funny because like most of the class hated it.
Yeah.
But I was in like maybe the 15-20% that actually really enjoyed the class. So then when we, in our last year, Paul and I were having a chat, we're like, yeah, actually, we both really enjoyed that subject, and that's kind of where things started.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So you geeked out a bit.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's programming for us was like a bit of a puzzle. Like, you got to kind of solve a problem and then using these tools to figure it out. So we kind of enjoyed that part of the process. And yeah, so it was nice to actually apply it to something that could end up developing into a real product like we did. So
did you think that's where it was going to happen? Did you have the idea of starting your own business and stuff way back then? Was that something like an interest of yours, or has it just sort of happened?
A little bit. I think both my parents ran their own businesses, and I think that like influenced me a fair bit.
Yeah, of course.
That it was always on the radar. I had an internship at that period, and I remember thinking, if I can just figure out how to like make passive income to match my salary of what I'm on right now, then I wouldn't have to work, or I could work on other ideas. So I was kind of thinking of those things, and then when Paul and I were having the chat, I remember we were playing soccer in the backyard.
Yeah.
Then we're like, okay, well, why don't we just try to build a tool?
Yeah.
But at that point, we weren't thinking of business. We were just thinking, let's build a tool. And then once it started to get a bit more traction, we're like, okay, maybe there's something to this.
Yeah.
That's when we thought, all right, well, let's try and give it a go and build a business out of it.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, when we first built that first product, when we didn't really know what we were doing, we were just trying to build something, test our programming skills, and see if other people were interested.
How's that hook idea for any like young like entrepreneur, or just any young like business person of passive income? Hey, like the hook, and it still hooks me when I'm like, I have passive income. I'll just get a rental property or do a little side hustle, and it'll happen, and then like it just absorbs you and becomes your life.
It's not so passive.
It's not passive.
Very active.
Yeah. The only thing I think is like true passive income that I've discovered anyway, like is you buy like an ETF, and I can just forget about it, and then it just makes money. Like, you just put money into it. Like, yeah. That's for me anyway. Like, even I've got a rental property, and some shit hits the fan, and I'm just absorbed by that. So much stress. Like, yeah.
Not so passive income.
No, definitely. Yeah.
But that was the intention. Like, I just wanted to get out of that internship, that job.
Yeah.
I was like, I just need to make enough money where, it can support me. Yeah. Just my rent. If I can cover my rent, then that for me would have been good enough as a passive income.
Yeah.
But
did it happen?
It did, yeah. But we were more active about it. Like, we wanted to keep developing features and improve the product, because we're getting a lot of emails and people are asking a lot of questions about it. So I never really... Actually, for the first 6 months, we just had ads up and we left it alone. So cool. It was passive for those first 6 months.
Oh, no way.
So we'd get a little bit of ad revenue. It wasn't much. It was like probably $50 a week or something. But it was technically passive for those first 6 months. But then we were getting a lot of emails and questions and people asking for more features. So we thought it's worthwhile to actually try and build a product out of this.
You had something.
We don't want it to be crap.
So what was the MVP?
It was a beam calculator. So if you're designing like a steel beam, you want to put forces on it and just see how much it moves, how much force is in that beam. And both Paul and I had the same problem where we both searched Google to try and find an online calculator that did this. And both of us independently had this journey where we searched it, we couldn't find anything useful, and we just gave up. And we were both talking about that and saying, actually, I searched the same thing. I didn't find any solution, and he had the same problem. So that was kind of the motivation behind building it in the first place, was we were just trying to solve that need or that problem that we both had as students not knowing that there was a deeper problem around accessibility.
Yeah. So it was creating that tool for like, so you can figure out the calculation of a steel beam. Yeah. So you can hold support stuff for design purposes. But then, so you built that tool, and then you had ad revenue on that, and that was what was essentially making you money first.
Yeah, we just thought we'll
It's
whack
just a
some
free
ads on there.
tool.
Yeah, but it was a free tool.
Yeah.
We actually put a so we had all these like feature requests and from users, and we're like, oh, that's a lot of work to build. So we put like a fake premium button, like buy now for these premium features. We hadn't built any of the features. So you could do this, do that. And then we would just track how many people would click the button.
Yeah.
And before deciding whether it was worthwhile. And we actually had a price there. Like they'd had to actually click and go through and then say, coming soon. So I think when we realized it was about 8 clicks per day or something, we're like, okay, people actually want to subscribe to something
huge,
more.
Man. Yeah.
So that was a really easy, low-hanging fruit test that you could do.
Man, that's so clever and so like, it's not like the idea that it's simple when you articulate that, but it's the idea of like selling before building, right? And I remember that was like one of the first sort of like entrepreneurial lessons that I learned. I've never created a product company, but it was like, whenever is selling before building, because a lot of people that I hear of, particularly like startup founders and stuff like that, they'll make the mistake of like, all right, I know the problem, I'm going to build something, build. They go to take it to market and then can't sell it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
In that time where we had the product out for 6 months and was getting ad revenue, we literally didn't look at it, and we went and built a bunch of other tools and tried to build businesses in that period, and we kept falling into that trap of not meeting a need and building before selling. But we're building before realizing, was there actually really demand for it? So I think then when we came back to the tool, it was called bendingmomentdiagram.com. It was very technical, crappy name, but when we came back to it, we're like, we're not gonna make that same mistake again. We'll put a fake buy button now to see if people would actually buy before we build. So it was like, we kind of learnt the long way, but it's such good advice that you need to sell or have a need that you're solving before going and building anything.
So you guys actually had the answer there. Like it was that you did it first and you're like, oh no, we'll go create this stuff. And then, but like, oh shit, let's just go back to doing this.
The first thing worked. And it came down to, because we both had that problem and it was an actual problem that we were trying to solve. Whereas the ones we tried in between, there was no problem. We were just forcing a product onto a market that didn't really exist. You know, there wasn't a need for it. That was probably our biggest mistake that we made in that 6-month period.
Is that the first 6 months of the business, or?
So but there was no real business. Or just little ideas, apps, things like that we were developing and releasing. But yeah, that was back in 2014.
Wow. 24. So that's like 10 years ago. 11. Wait, 25. 11 years. Yeah, cool. And so it was just you two to begin with. You and Paul. Who's are you both sort of like similar sort of skill set, or is there one sort of complementary? There's like the hustler and the hacker sort of like mentality from a typical sort of startup.
I think we overlap each other a little bit, like just enough where it's helpful, where I can go to ask him questions about my side and he can help ask questions about his side. But he's definitely moved more towards the technical side, and I'm sales, marketing, and operations. So he's the CTO, and like he's awesome. He makes sure that we build it properly. I tend to cut corners in terms of the development. He tends to go a little bit further, or a lot further, and then we kind of meet in the middle. And it's a good balance, I think, in terms of our skill sets. But yeah, now we definitely have more like independent roles in the company.
All right, cool. So challenges from the early days was just establishing that sort of product market fit.
Yeah, definitely. In the Sky, we released SkyCiv in 2015 after all those apps, and we decided to brand it properly. Take it away from just being a simple tool to being a feature, like a full platform. And there was a lot of challenges in those early days because we're in the industry of structural engineering, and they're very risk adverse. They don't like to change because that exposes them to more risk. You know, if a structure fails, they can get sued, like their licenses, their careers are on the line. So they need to be really careful about software they use.
Mm-hmm.
So being a new player in the market, you know, we were young guys back then too, 25. So I think a lot of our challenges came with, were to do with trust.
Yeah, sure.
You know, being a new player in the market.
Mm-hmm.
They're using established products that have been around for 20, 30 years.
Yep.
Why would I change to this new thing? Cool, it looks shiny, whatever. But if it's going to be wrong, or if it's going to cause me to not be able to do my job properly, then that's a risk I don't really want to take. So I'd say that was the biggest challenge, and still is.
Still is.
Yeah, definitely. I think just the industry that we're in
Yep.
is quite difficult to break into.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you get in and the customer loves you, they're going to be with you for a really long period because of those same reasons.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You remind me of this Jamaican phrase that this guy I follow, Rory Sutherland, coins. It's trust grows at a speed of the coconut tree, but then falls at the speed of the coconut. So like once it takes a long time to get it, and if you have it, it's good, but you can lose it like that if you make, you know, mistake or whatever that might be. And I can imagine if you've got, you know, engineering software where literally people's lives are on the line when you're calculating these things, if you're burned once, and you're the skin in the game with your business is pretty much tarnished for a long time. Yeah, it'd be a very hard thing to get away from. How do you think you guys overcome that or built that trust? I mean, you've been around for over a decade now, so must be doing something right.
I'd say, time. It just takes a lot of time, but also just doing the right things right. Like recognizing that, that is a challenge for us. And we are younger guys. We don't have that design experience. Let's hire people that do have that experience, who can test the product to make sure we're introducing like really good QA procedures and doing the right things right, because that just builds trust over time because you're not making those mistakes. You know, the coconut isn't falling from the tree because you've got a really good team and experienced team in place that are preventing that from happening. So I think it's about like taking accountability. You say like, okay, we don't have that experience. You know, we can't fake it till we make it in this case.
Yeah. We
need to actually, you know, get our stuff, you know, ducks in a row, and hire the right people who can help us be better because, we can't fake it. We don't have that experience. Yeah.
When you get to that point, and there's a few things I'll ask about, is like building that founding team, which is like such a critical thing with a lot of startups. And then I guess when you're at that point, when you realize that's what we need to do, are you guys like a bootstrapped company, or did you guys go and get funding to raise capital to hire and grow in that initial sort of phase once you established you had a problem you needed to solve?
It was organic, so we are bootstrapped. Just organic growth.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because it is a slow to move industry too, that helps us grow organically and in a way that kind of we didn't have to raise a lot of money and be first to the market. There wasn't that that pressure or that rush that we needed to be the first. We just needed to be better than what was out there. So, we just organically grew to a point where we could start hiring people, start hiring the right people. Early days, I think we probably made a few mistakes just hiring people that had similar levels of experience that we had, rather than hiring people who were more experienced. And maybe that was also a function of we didn't have the funds because we're bootstrapped. But when you get to a certain point that you can hire people that are much more experienced, much better at certain tasks than you are, then you see the snowball effect of that happening, because everything is just getting better in all the different areas. Because you got the right people in the right places. But we're fortunate that it was a slow to move industry, so we could grow organically and hire people as we needed them. We didn't really have to. Well, we didn't end up raising a lot of money to hire a team in one go.
And then I know we've chatted about the sort of people you look for, particularly for your tech team. It's what I do. So, but you mentioned there's quite a unique skill set. So someone who's got that background of civil engineering and software engineering is probably going to marry best. Is that right? Am I quoting that right? Like, how did you discover that? Was that like a painful process you went through? Like, if you hired just software engineers first, or was that just something you guys always knew from the start?
We hired similar people to ourselves. Like, we were engineers. So we studied engineering, or we were practicing engineers, and had an interest in programming, or could program.
Yeah.
And there's a decent enough overlap between the two sides because engineers have that mathematical, analytical brain that matches programming a lot and gets, get interested in programming because it is that prescriptive sort of step-by-step procedure that engineers are interested in. So I think that there was a good overlap of general skills for engineers to learn to program.
Yeah.
So we're quite lucky in that sense that there is a lot of overlap for those two. But as and so we hired a lot of people that were similar to us, similar, engineers that would be trained to be programmers. And a lot of them would actually just email us because they knew we were a software company for a structural engineering industry. And they're like, I'm a structural engineer, but I am interested in programming. So we did have, and we still do have a lot of organic inbounds in terms of recruitment because they just know, these are the two worlds that I want to see marry up. Because that's the same as what Paul and I had. We had that interest in programming, but we were structural engineers. So we're fortunate enough that we get a lot of inbound inquiries about that. But we're also realizing it's very hard to train a structural engineer to be a very good programmer.
Right.
And it's impossible to train a programmer to be a structural engineer. Well, that would take 10 years. So now we're definitely going down more the route of splitting the roles and just collaborating together. So you have people doing what they do best, which is best structural engineers we can find and the best programmers we can find. And then we have them collaborate on projects to get the best possible outcome. So I think as in the beginning, it's really helpful to have generalists, and that's what we're looking for. But then as you continue to grow and, your standard needs to be a bit higher, then you start to look for more specialized roles and clearly defined responsibilities and skill sets that then get the best out of the product that we want to build.
Yeah, fantastic. Is that a new thing you guys have sort of discovered?
I'd say within the last few years. Yeah, I think so. I'd say the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And we're just seeing the benefit of hiring more of those specialized roles. What they bring to the company is so much more valuable than a generalist who might be decent at a lot of things, but not, a master at one.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, you do need generalists because you don't know where they're going to fall in the company. You don't have set roles. So I wouldn't change that because I think that was important.
Yeah.
But maybe a few key roles I would have hired earlier as more specialist roles.
If you could have, had with hindsight in 2020 sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I feel like, especially in those early days of any startup, the founding team have got to be like they may be really good at one thing, but they've got to be prepared to put on a few different hats and sort of pick up the slack across different things. We see that a lot with founding engineers that we hire into startups. So recently we did a founding principal engineer one of the hardest roles I've had to fill because they need to be like very, very good with 3 areas. So like Java, databases and AWS, but then also wear the hat of a principal in terms of the system design, architecture, and then leading a team later on, even though they weren't doing that right now. So it was kind of like a very forward-thinking hire because they were in a position of growth. They knew they were going to grow, but they needed something to build their product. So, but they had to be prepared to go into that role, but not now. So wear everything at the time. So.
Definitely the hardest roles to find.
Yeah.
Maybe where they're coming from is that experience of in 3 years and they have to go back to, I don't know, being on the tools or whatever.
That's exactly right. Yeah. The guy we placed was the 8th employee at Atlassian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And stayed with Atlassian for 10 years, then went to San Fran for 4, came back to Atlassian for another 4, then went to another unicorn in Australia, and then actually just quite luckily and timing for us, his role there was made redundant. So this was perfect for him. And he was like, this is actually perfect for me because I needed something to reignite my passion again. So, yeah. Yeah,
it's funny because you speak to some of those people that have developed further and they're like, I actually really miss what got me into this industry or what got me into this company in the beginning, which is that hands-on work. So it'd be interesting, how that guy kind of relearn the skill. Probably didn't even need to relearn
just
them.
rekindle the flame.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was for him. Yeah, it was great. So, man, I took some stats from the website.
Yeah.
15 million projects solved in 160 countries around the world, and then 30-minute response time.
Yeah.
I was like,
That one's a bit harder to tackle.
30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, really, really big numbers, and then the smallest number you possibly
which I guess is kind of reflective to, like, I don't know, if you're responding to someone halfway across the world in 30 minutes, you got their problem solved. It's kind of a good thing, right?
Yeah.
But, I was like, well, it's huge at that 30-minute response.
That's not how it works. It's so sad that in our industry, that's like the best response time in any other company.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy. Yeah, they take 2-3 days. Sometimes they don't ever fix issues. Like,
No
it's
way. Yeah, right.
very, very old, archaic software. So
Yeah.
for us, the 30 minutes, they're like, oh, that's great.
It's damn.
I'll take
yeah,
that.
right. Yeah. How good. But it's impressive, mate. Like, it's pretty. They look like pretty huge numbers. Was it like a typical growth scale like that, or was it like the what's that curve called? Exponential growth curve, or was it just like a very steady growth?
Yeah, I'd say quite linear. Yeah, we
Linear.
just kind of worked on. I mean,
That's the engineer. And
yeah. I think releasing like on an online platform that was easy to find gave us a lot of early traction. That helped basically get the business off the ground. And then from there was, I think, a linear scale of just doing the right things right, building better products, attracting better companies and better businesses. So yeah, I think in the beginning you kind of had like a big jump the first year or two where we just got a lot of search volume and got people using the platform, and then we steadily grew from there. So yeah, I think I haven't checked those numbers in a long time, so I don't even know them. But it's the benefit of being online is that anyone from any country can just hop on and use the tool. And we kind of did that from the start. We focused on SEO, like search volume, translating the website. So we did a lot of that upfront work that got us traction in different countries, different regions.
Where do you think the most adopted region of your product has been?
US is the number one.
Yep.
So it's been since the beginning. About 50% of our users come from the US.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Then Europe, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And then you get some like really high, like for instance, New Zealand convert really high in New Zealand. So the conversion rate is really high. It's quite impactful.
Right.
But obviously the population isn't as big, but the fact that they convert so well means you get a lot of users from there. So different regions that I think are under supported in our industry.
Yeah, okay.
We just try to focus on those. And we have to do a lot of design standards for different regions. So that's how we, I guess, make it geographically relevant to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's good. Like we do conferences in the US. That's another way where we find a lot of customers. So improving our branding, meeting more people, networking. Mm-hmm. And we've always focused on the US from the beginning because we figured, if you put in 10 hours of marketing a week and you just do Australia, you could do the same 10 hours in the US, but it's going to go 10 times as far because their population size.
Yeah.
So we started marketing in the US first before anywhere else.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. And you mentioned your sort of competitors and the industry being old and archaic and stuff. Has that changed in the decades in the decade that you've been in business? Have you seen any more emerging players or anything like that?
There's been a couple emerging players, but surprisingly, the incumbents, the companies that are already out there, haven't changed too much. Yeah, and they're still they'll get the people renewing their subscription every year. Yeah, because of that risk aversion. Sure, don't want to change. I'm comfortable with my design being this way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, not as much as you would expect. But now more recently, you're seeing a few AI companies popping up. There was a few competitors over the 10 years as well that have popped up, cloud-based competitors. Mm-hmm. But it's still quite a slow to move industry, I'd say. Yep. Just because of the things like the liability and the risks associated to design.
So is it highly regulated and you said the design, I forget the terminology, but I guess licenses or regulations for different countries, are they really different?
The licenses are. We're lucky we don't have to get too involved in the licenses because we're just the software.
Yep.
But yeah, there are a lot of... it's very litigious as well. Like there's a lot of lawsuits when, designs are incorrect or they have to be redesigned or things fail. Like, you can look around Sydney and see a few of the buildings that have had really, really bad issues.
Yeah, man.
The Opal building and...
Right. Yeah, like Canterbury. They're basically all the apartments are worthless. So it's probably the cheapest place you can buy an apartment if some of those buildings, but you got to understand the building can fall down at any moment. So, and they can't refix it apparently. Yeah. Or they just won't refix it. The builder's not liable anymore because it's past 5 years or. And
it gets to a point where the cost of fixing it is like
it's too much,
less than what they're going to sell it for. So more than what they'll sell it for.
Yeah, way more. Yeah.
So I think all those reasons just make it that slow to move industry that it is, but it's still good because it creates opportunity. Yeah.
So is it for because the other day when you bumped in the hallway, you said it was for surveyors, but is it for civil engineers or like a mix of everything? Like,
it's
what is SkyCiv? Tell me what it is.
Oh yeah, okay.
Just probably should have said this at the start. But
so we are a structural engineering platform. So for structural engineers, is what the software is tailored to. And it's to design things like buildings, bridges. You'll use our software to model it and then test it, whether it meets the design standards, whether it's physically going to hold up, and just it's safe for construction. Yeah. So our customers are structural engineers.
Yeah. So would it be, is it a business-to-business platform or is it to a consumer? So if you're a structural engineer, like who are your actual customers? Are they actual businesses or engineers? Yeah.
I think we call it the term, I don't know if this is an official term, but B to small b. Yeah. So we're selling to businesses, but they're individual users or small businesses in a lot of cases. But now, more recently, the last year, we're moving more towards business, like B to proper B, B to capital B. Yeah. Just because I think in the beginning, the first problem we were solving was accessibility. People, if they needed a tool like this, they would have to purchase a really expensive license, install it on their computer, take 2 or 3 weeks to learn how to use it, and pay an upfront really expensive cost. And so our first problem that we solve is accessibility, which is you can plug in your credit card details. It's on the cloud, so you're using it right away, and it's very intuitive, very easy to learn. So by solving that problem first, we became a B2C company because it was like, okay, I need something quick and accessible. Yep. So we got a lot of students joining the platform, low tier engineering companies, and just individual structural engineers who just needed these types of programs, but didn't have them or didn't have access to them. Yeah. And then now we're moving more towards, businesses, teams, I would say enterprise, but more like automated systems for bigger companies through API integrations.
Wow, okay.
So more towards that B2B service.
Yeah, because that's an interesting problem. There's like cloud, would it be cloud native? I'm not sure the terminology here, but like cloud native solution for your customers. So was that just a little niche that you probably solved? The accessibility problem was the thing that you noticed that your customers faced.
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny because in the beginning, Paul and I were like, "Oh, the cloud. Just being on the cloud is going to be the thing that converts everyone. Everyone's going to transfer to our software. Just being on the cloud." And then we learned pretty quickly that the cloud is good, but it's not enough for them to just change on the basis of that. Yeah, right. But what you do is you add the other value propositions that matter, like accessibility, customer support, your live chat, we can see your model in real time, collaboration between other engineers because it's all online. Those are the things that actually converted the customer. They were like byproducts of being on the cloud. Just being on the cloud wasn't enough. Yeah. So
it was like that those little things that you added as that value add. So the customer service, what was the other one? You said the customer service, the chat,
the chat, the customer service, the collaboration. So being able to share a model just through a link.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, because right now they'll save a file, version 1.0.2, send it an email. They'll make changes. They'll send it back, version 1.0.3.
Yeah. Okay.
Which version were you using? I don't know. Which change. So tracking those changes, that was another value add. and just always being on a single source of truth. You know, you're always on the latest version of the software. We know we're on the same file, the same project file. So there were like underlying problems that the cloud was solving that we just took for granted, but actually that was what was important to the engineers. So yeah, that was another thing that you might think what you're releasing is valuable in this area, but if you're not listening to your customer, you might miss the mark, which is, hey, this is the value, this is what's important, and then you just tailor your messaging towards those key USPs, and things just move a bit faster.
Yeah. What do you think is the single biggest problem that your now, like, I guess, like lagger adopters are facing if you're targeting these bigger businesses now? You said it's trust. So like, what specifically is it with trust? Like, is it, you know, when you change in a behavior of like a buyer or whatever that buyer is, it's very, very hard to do. Like, people are habitual, they're ingrained in their own ways. If something's not broken, why fix it, sort of thing. So what is the biggest inhibitor of them making that change, do you think, with trust? And I know trust is one word, but if you can elaborate a bit further on that, what do you think that would be?
I think maybe engineers, and not to stereotype or anything, but they might be creatures of habit as well.
Sure, yeah.
So embedded in that trust is, I've got a process that I use that I'm comfortable with. So maybe comfort is like is probably a more general word that explains exactly what some of those challenges are based around. So, I use it in this way. I know how to use this tool. I don't have to learn another tool. And I know it's going to work for me because I've used it for the last 20 years. So it's probably a combination of trust and comfort in that sense. And we still experience that today for sure. Just because once someone finds a tool that works for them, even if it's going to be slow, they'll continue to use it. So I think that's a big piece of that trust puzzle.
Yeah. How are you guys overcoming it?
Just do things faster. Just prove to them that if you've got your workflow that works, try ours. You'll do it a lot faster because everything's integrated. Everything speaks to each other, all the different products. And then compare the results at the end with one that you've already done, design that you've already done. And you'll see that they're comparable. Yeah. And you'll see that you got to the same outcome, you got to the same result. You just didn't have to go 50 different ways to get there. Everything just kind of streamlined in one process because in our platform, all the tools speak to each other. So that saves them a lot of time. Yeah. So I think going through a project with them is the best way to overcome that, because then they see at the other end, I got the exact result I was after. I got there much faster and with less headaches. And less redesigns and things like that. So, and also just showing that we do take the QA process seriously. Like, we have a procedure in place, we have the right people in place. We meet every week about it. It's in our culture that now we're a QA first company. Right. Like, we're all about the quality first, then the speed of development second. Whereas in the beginning, I think we were flipped.
All right, wow.
Yeah, we were trying to get features out as fast as possible, and we were trying to get market share, we're trying to grow, trying to get more users, so we just needed more features out there. But what we're doing is you're basically stacking up tech debt, and then you get to a certain point where it's like, okay, we need to start fixing this, we have serious users on there, we need to put in better procedures for the next development cycles to make sure that everything we build and release is validated, it's quality assured, and the engineers can trust it. So yeah, kind of, again, it's like we've lived two lives. It's like the startup life where there's different priorities, and then the more established business where you kind of take those lessons learnt from the startup phase and you develop them and turn them into like more long-term procedures that will sustain the growth.
Sustainability, yeah. And as you shifted to that more of a quality or a QA, a quality assured business, if I'm saying the right word there, QA, have you noticed that shift in your business, in the internal culture of how you guys are operating in the team?
Definitely. And you know what? Like the team was really, really good. Like got behind it. I think we made it. I'd say it was like a very active switch where it was just like, there's too much tech debt. There's too many problems. We need to make an active like switch here in culture. And the whole team got behind it, and we haven't looked back since. And, you know, a lot of hard work went into it too. But because you had that culture change, there was enough motivation to see it through.
Yep.
Because, it's one thing to say, okay, we're going to do it this way. But if there's no motivation behind it, you might last 3-6 months and, it'll fall off a cliff. But because it was in the culture, I was like, no, we need to be better. We want to be the best we possibly can. That everyone was motivated enough to see it through and implement those changes.
Yep.
And now it's just, we don't even think about it.
Have you seen that shift in reflective to being part of the growth of the business? So, or have you noticed that? So, I think like when I hear a story like this around that shift to quality, it all becomes about like your existing customer base as opposed to really trying to acquire new ones. So, and that, I envision that being those existing customers act as your biggest referrers, the word of mouth spreads, people might move companies and say, hey, we should be using SkyCiv, that adds to new business, that sort of stuff. Have you seen that been reflective in your business yet?
I wouldn't say I've seen like a direct response like that from the users. I'm not on customer support as much as I used to, but I'm on the QA meeting every week, and we talk about if there were any issues. So I definitely see on the QA meeting, like there's basically no issues, or there's minimal that we talk about now because it's been solved. But in the beginning, there was a lot. I would say we're just getting less red flags, less like major issues coming up. And that's how we see it coming through, that on the customer support line, we're not getting as many people complaining about issues or bugs or whatever they are. So I think that's how we've seen that response. But no one's clearly come out and said, hey, I've noticed your product is really solid now. It's just like the limiting the number of complaints, basically. Yeah. That's how we've seen it, which is, not as inspiring, but it is, you can sleep better at night. People are referring the product because they're not having these issues. Yeah. There's that whole that, I don't remember the number, but one person who has a good experience will tell one person on average, whereas if they have a bad experience, they tell 5 people.
They tell 10.
10 is it?
10.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
more like 10,
as long as we're plugging up those, and there's no reason to say anything negative, and we're only getting the positive ones, that's how we'll see the word of mouth grow.
That's awesome. So you guys grew from like 2 people, you and Paul. How many people you got now?
I think we're about 35 now.
All across the world?
Yeah.
Global distributed team.
Yeah.
So has that always been an ethos from you guys to have like that sort of globally distributed team? Or is it something that sort of just happened naturally?
Probably just happened naturally.
Yeah.
I think just people would email us with resumes. And
from all around the world.
We're like, actually, this guy looks great. Like if they looked good and we met them.
I guess because you had that global marketing from the start, right? The problem. How good. Interesting.
And that helped us a lot because like on the customer support exam, I keep referring to that because we do get a lot of customer support questions.
Right.
That was really hard to do from just Australia. You've got people that are up in European times and, they have questions or problems or whatever it is.
Or the US, East Coast US, right?
Exactly. Yeah, there's like, as we're finishing up, they're starting. So getting really good resumes from people in the right areas meant we could provide 24-hour support. And it just meant we had local market knowledge and local experience because there's different design standards for the US, for Canada, Australia, US, Europe. So we needed to have experience in those specific markets, and that helped us get even further into those markets.
Yeah. Design standards, that was the word I was looking for before. All right. Yeah, fantastic. So as the business has grown, you obviously grown to a leader, role of CEO. What do you think is the biggest or the most important lesson that you've learned from that journey? There we go, baby.
That's a tough one. The most important? I think it goes back to the initial product development, like focusing on a need and not trying to make up your own need.
Right.
I think because none of this would have happened. We never even would have ended up at this point if we didn't just focus on, all right, I had a problem, Paul had a problem. I think we asked a couple of friends too. Did you have the same problem? Yes. okay, we established a need before we wrote any lines of code, before we mapped out any spreadsheets. So if you going way back, I think that was the biggest lesson that I learned, was making sure that you're solving a problem and not just creating a tool because you think it's cool. If you really want to start a business, it's got to solve a problem. There's got to be some motivation behind someone paying you for it. Then probably midway through, I'd say my lessons learned was hire someone start hiring more specialized roles sooner. I think we waited too long. Whether it was we didn't have the funds or we just didn't know. I'd probably say we just didn't know that you need people that are better at things, the individual parts of the business, than you are. So it's fine to be generalist for the first few years, but then you need to switch that off. And I think we took too long to switch that off. So we would have had a lot of our QA processes done earlier on if we had done that. Because any engineer would have said, no, we need to do these things properly. But I'm always learning. So, I think, different stages, you learn different things. Yeah. And they're probably the two that stand out. I'm sure there's 50 more I'm not thinking of.
Yeah. I had a chat with, I don't know if you follow him, a guy called Rain Ong. He's pretty big in the angel investing space. But he said, like, the founder of a tech business, if it's growing and doing well, they have to reinvent themselves at least every 2 years, but sometimes every year, because of the growth and scale of the business. And I think like what you just described there and what you just said was like a pretty clear example of that. Do you think you've had to do that, reinvent yourself a bit, or have you still sort of stayed pretty true to the ethos of the business and yourself?
I think probably pretty true. I think I'm still very much a product guy. Like, I love the product. I love that. That's the most important thing, I think. Especially as a software company, your product is going to sell itself. And I still have that definitely in my DNA. But I think I've also moved towards being more salesy, I would say. Like, I was probably a developer in the first few years, and then kind of moved into product management sort of phase, and then now more sales, BDM, networking. And I like that. Like, I like the journey. I like to learn the new skills as long as I'm interested in them. And but still, you still get a handle on the product. Like, you still get your fingerprint on there, and you still recognize that is the most important thing. So even going back to that guy who's going back on the tools, like, still having some, sort of work in the product, I think gives me a lot of motivation and keeps me coming back every day.
Yeah.
I think I have maybe changed the other 80% of what I do, and that's evolved. But the core 20%, the core of what we started the business, which was a product, and now 20% of my work is still, the product.
Fantastic. When you said that you get people applying for you guys all around the world, what sort of, when you're interviewing people, what characteristics do you look for with people? Because I think on paper, you're probably, what you like to see. That's to be the process we go through as well. But for you personally, and I guess your founding team, what characteristics do you guys look for when hiring for SkyCiv?
I think we definitely look at culture as very, very high. Like, are they going to blend and be able to work with the team, collaborate with the team, or are they going to be hard to work with? I think we've had a really, really good hiring, history. We've been very happy with all our hires. Basing that, the most important thing is that they are going to be a good cultural fit. They'll be easy to work with. But also, like, self-learning, self-starters, that's really important. Like, I love nothing more than when someone follows me up after an interview with an email. Like, if I get one of those, I go, this guy already gets a big tick, because to do that, you have to be a self-starter. You have to take the initiative to send that email. That's a big green flag when I see those come through. If they ask a lot of questions too, I think some people in interviews don't ask many questions. And I like questions, because questions get me to see your curious side or what you are interested in. So I like when people ask a lot of questions. And I'd say they're the main things. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Curiosity and proactivity by the sounds of it.
definitely.
Yeah, really good character traits in people. Yeah, for sure. And that actually comes up a fair bit with the curiosity is probably the number one character trait, because I asked this question to everyone in interview that has come up from other leaders and owners of businesses and co-founders of what they look for, curiosity. So yeah.
I was gonna say I can also share you one of the worst interviews
do it.
Was I think it was a 40-minute interview,
right?
And I asked one question. It was a very simple question, and he went on a 15-minute tangent of just speak and didn't even answer the question.
Oh my god!
And then it was I didn't even know what he was talking about by the end of it. And then I was like, okay, he's finished. I'll ask another question, and then there was another 20 minutes of, I'm not kidding, 20 minutes of just blabbering, and I was like. And then at the end of that was the end of the interview. I was like, okay, I asked 2 questions.
What just happened?
So, I mean, it's good to obviously answer the question, elaborate, but I think answer the question, and then just give them enough context that they need that you've answered the question well, but then close it out, because I have a lot of questions they want to ask you.
Yeah.
So that was a standout worst interview I remember. That I think, I'm sure 99% of people wouldn't do that, but.
You'd be surprised. Yeah. So I've had, some fair bit of feedback from people who I thought wouldn't act like that. But then it's funny they use that interview as a stage for themselves to just say something instead of actually just listening and answering the question. I think you have a lot of opportunity to answer questions well, right? And there's lots of frameworks that people use and stuff like STAR card to sort of ease people's nerves. And I feel like they actually add anxiety to people. If you just listen to someone and answer the question how you would answer it, that's going to solve 99% of interview questions, no matter what they are, right? Probably 100%. I don't know but what that stat could be. But yeah, the key thing is listening and answering. Where people get it wrong is they get nervous because they think they're not going to be able to answer it properly of what the other interviewer's trying to hear. And they can get over that ego state and just answer the question, or have the confidence to say, you know what, I don't know the answer. But this is how I would answer it, or this is what I think the answer is. That's also a really good thing that I actually pass on to candidates. If you don't know the answer, say something like that. This is what I think the answer might be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just show you're working, or just explain what you're thinking.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. If anything, it shows that you're eager to learn, or that you know your shortfalls, and that you have areas that you want to learn more on. And that actually excites me more to hire that person, because we know we can grow them and develop them. Whereas someone who thinks they know it all, even if they're getting the answer completely wrong and they're just using brute force to get to that response that they think they want to hear. I think it's better just to admit it, because 9 times out of 10 that's going to go down better with the
goes down
interviewer.
a hell of a lot better than just talking in a tangent for 15 minutes. Was it a group interview at the end where you just Paul,
just me in a room? I was like, oh my god, I had to sit through.
I want my 45 minutes of my life back, please. All right, where do you think you're taking SkyCiv?
Good question. We have some new products in the new year that we're really excited about.
Yeah.
And obviously AI is just new technology that we love playing with and trying to integrate with our platform. Where it makes sense. We're not trying to force it into the platform, but I think some areas that it could really help engineers be more productive. So definitely product stuff, we're very excited about some things that are coming around in the new year. And then, I'm a product guy. I like to start with that.
Yeah.
But definitely, and the market sales area is more businesses. I think we've established a really strong brand name. The product is in a really good place, and we feel we can help teams of people. So it's a bit of a change in the sales strategy and the marketing strategy. So I'm learning a lot about that, and that's been very exciting and fun. Because, like you said earlier, reinventing yourself. Yeah. This is a whole new area that we're enjoying working in.
Those bigger ticket clients is what you'd probably be after. It's a business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And handling the sales. Good luck with that, mate. That sounds exciting.
Thanks.
All right, cool. Couple of short fire quick questions.
Cool.
Get
a sip in before.
Yeah, get a sip in. Get some of that Dutch courage in there, or the New Town of courage. Yeah. How good's
Sponsored by Newtown. I
Mate,
don't know if
they don't need enough. They just got, they got bought out by Carlton United Breweries.
Did they?
Yeah,
Nice.
like 40, but they've still managed to save the thing. How funny was this? I don't know if before I get into this, I used to be able to buy a beer at the pub for like $3. I remember when I first started drinking. Probably not, I'm a bit older than you, but do a round of beers for like $10. But you only had like Tui's New and stuff like that then. And I was like, I'll buy Tui's New the other day. It was still like $9 or $10 for a beer. I was like, what the? Who's paying that much for like Tui's New these days?
That's actually my go-to beer as well.
Oh, is it?
I'm like, it's true.
Oh,
though.
shit, yeah.
You know, it's like, really? This is like meant to be the entry level.
I'm loving their new campaign. Hey, the one that they're doing for I feel like a Tui's. Have you seen that ad? Yeah. I
know
feel
that.
like a Tui's.
I thought that's been around for
Yeah, but they've reinvented it a little
Okay.
bit more. It's really good. Yeah, it's clever.
Yeah, bring back the old good beer ads.
Yeah.
The VB, the Carlton Drafts. Like,
Oh man,
had some crackers.
yeah.
back then.
Well, VB like for a hard and thirst. Like
Yeah.
I actually was thinking that in my head, and I was like, please come back. Please tell me the Tui's thing before I get to the end of this sentence in my brain, because I couldn't think. I was like, oh yeah, no, that was it. Yeah. But yeah, hard and thirst. You can't get that out of your head, eh? Like,
Mate, since like what, the 80s when that
100%.
ad was out.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's just
And then
stuck.
Carlton Draft came out with all like the big ads. Like, this is a big ad.
Yeah,
Remember
that one. Yeah, like so like memorable. But I can't remember since those two if there's
Yeah.
been one as big as
Nah,
that.
no way, no chance. Yeah. All right. So, what advice would you give any young founder?
Just start, I think, is the biggest one.
Yep.
Yeah, so many people overthink it, or they have ideas and they talk about them, but just start that afternoon. I think if we hadn't started that afternoon, maybe we would have missed this whole journey and this whole path, and it's a life path really. So I think as soon as you conceptualize an idea and you think this has some legs, start like as soon as you can that day. It was just putting together a spreadsheet, whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get that kindling going.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
Yeah. What books have you read that have been fundamental to your success?
How to Win Friends and Influence.
Oh, yeah?
That is such a good...
Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie,
Yeah.
It's such an old book, but it's so relevant.
Yeah.
In terms of
Classic.
managing people, it's just... I think every manager should read it. Because it gives you advice about how to be a good person. And maybe you've got traits that you're doing that you don't realize you're doing, but he gives a lot of like real life cases. I think he draws on a lot of presidents.
Yeah.
Which are always interesting people. And then when you read it from that perspective, you go, wow, yeah, that person nailed that challenge. So I think if you're a manager, that is like a must read. Outliers was a good book.
Malcolm Gladwell.
I think so.
Yeah.
About
The hockey players, and then the little town that's like an Italian town in America that had the highest rate.
maybe not.
Not outliers. That's outliers.
Okay, yeah.
Was
10X.
another I don't know. Or maybe there's another outliers book that I'm not aware of.
Okay.
Then yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, that's the two that
10x. What
come
was
to
10x?
mind. Yeah, that was like if you're going to do something, just go for it 10 times as far
All right.
as you were going to do. So if you're
Yep.
planning like to build sort of a business in one area, if you times that by 10, what would that look like?
Ooh, okay.
And then use that as your starting basis of what you're going to build.
Interesting.
And there was a really good marketing book. I just can't remember the name of it. It was like Target. Drawing a blank there. But
Remember the author?
no, this was very, very early days.
Mm-hmm.
Traction.
Traction.
Yeah,
Traction.
very good. Yeah.
Okay.
It's about how do you get your first few customers.
Yep.
And like it's probably about 10 years old now, but that really helped us get the fundamental marketing strategies down in the beginning to get our first few customers.
Yep.
Because I can imagine a lot of businesses would start, and if you don't get your first few customers, maybe you give up on it. But this helps you get those first few customers really early.
Yeah. I'll look that one up. Yeah, no, in Outliers, there's a bit in it about mavens, about how they're like the hipsters, and that's how this company would look for. They called Maven Marketing, and they would look for people who would do things that were counter trendy, but then they end up becoming the trend. So it was kind of like Crocs. So like, you know how everyone's wearing Crocs these days. 10 years ago, there was only like very small, trendy people, like chefs would wear them and stuff like that. And so they call them mavens, and they look for those sort of pivotal people that have the capacity to sort of like change the norm. Yeah, you just remind me of that, of like what those sort of, they're kind of like what influencers are in social media. They're the influencers of just real life, basically, and that they existed throughout whole society. And
I guess one more that James Clear, Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah,
I think
100%.
Everyone's reading that, but
That's actually next question, mate. What habits do you contribute to your success?
well, actually, to draw directly from that one, I think one of the biggest ones was the 1% rule.
Yeah,
we
1%
love
better.
and we built that into the company like 5 years ago, and we still believe like that it does have that impact that you
the compounding effect.
Yeah.
He stole it from is it it was an NBA coach. You know?
Was it?
Yeah, he stole it from an NBA coach for the Lakers.
Okay.
He turned their season around from being last to in the playoffs that year and then winning the next year.
That's
so
actually,
that is, it wasn't Jerry Buss. I know he owns the Lakers, but it was he's a coach of the Lakers. That 1% rule, just get 1% every day. Yeah. Every training session, whatever it is, just focus on that 1%. Don't change the world. 1%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's so effective in your everyday life as well. Like anything, you apply that to anything. And it's also less daunting. You're not like, I'm going to try and do all these things and change them overnight. It's just like, just do one thing that gets you a little bit. That was, probably my biggest takeaway from that book. Yeah.
Awesome. Sam, I think that's a good note to end it on. Thanks so much,
Sam.
mate.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
A lot
Sam
of fun. Thanks for the beer.
It's all right. Cheers, mate.
I have to try and
Till
get back
next
to
time.
work now.
I know.